Greetings, dear respected audience. This is Estamala, your firstly and successful global educator, corporate trainer, SDG, ESG, and technology enthusiast from Malaysia, who not only focus on her life, but also the desires to see others excel in their lives by offering quality education for all. Our dedicated project team of Elegant Empire Education welcomes you to the Real Talk with Experts Sustainable Development Goal Forum. We are privileged to have Assistant Professor Dr. Anjum Qureshi and Ambassador Professor Dr. Rania Lampu here with us today. Our Elegant Empire team, Dr. Anjum is our host and project leader for this SDG forum. In this forum, we will explore transformative strategies and that empowers communities through knowledge. Together, let us engage in an insightful discussion that inspires actions and foster collaboration for a sustainable future with our honorable respected panelist, Dr. Rania Lampu. Our topic today will be on disaster preparedness, safeguarding coast and communities under SDG 14, Life Below Water. Let me introduce her. Brief introduction. She needs no introduction, but anyway, I'll just give briefly about her. She's an international speaker, researcher, author, STEM educator at Greek Astronomy and Education Ministry, and many, many more. Yeah. And thank you for joining us in this vital conversation. Welcome, Dr. Rania Lampu.
Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Dr. Esther. I'm very happy to see you. Dr. Anjum also, the team, the amazing team.
I think once in a while, we should have together, right? We really feel like, oh, we are together. Really, I feel so
exactly.
Good today.
This is how this feels now. Exactly.
So and of course, I'm definitely a proud organizer, of this team because this is our second year or third year together. I can't remember. It's like quite some time, I mean, on this platform, Elegance Empire, I think this is the second year. We have completed 2 years. We are into third year. Yeah. Yeah, because we started in July 2023. Yeah. And then now it's already almost year end of 2025. So we stepped into third year already. So congratulations. Thank you so much for your precious support. Truly, it's a very challenging time. It's not easy to be together. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm very grateful to both of you for your great support and your commitment towards making all our sessions successful. And without much ado, I would like to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Anjum Qureshi to take over. Dr. Anjum, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Esther. And can we have the slide, please? So it's really a pleasure today to have Dr. Rania Lampu, ma'am, from Greece. And well, she doesn't need an introduction. Well, today we'll be talking on a very important SDG, that is SDG 14, and we'll be discussing on the topic disaster preparedness, safeguarding coast and communities. So if we look at like why disaster preparedness is important, so that we know we always have a plan in place for us, then we can arrange for the supplies, because when there is disaster, the people may face shortage of foods, medicines, and basic supplies. The third thing is, if we try to prepare for this disaster, the people will stay informed. They will be also very careful about the insurance coverage. They will try to have an emergency fund. And if we are prepared, we can be helping our community also. If we look at the disaster, the chances of disaster that is increasing. So here, climate changes are having a very great impact on the oceans and other water bodies. So this is a report by UNDP which says that, and we discussed about the climate induced risk versus the sea level rise, and it says that that the sea level rise will go up. It will rise very much, and the oceans by will rise by 23 centimeters in the late 9th century. The second is ocean warming because the ocean absorbs 90% of the heat from the emissions. So there is coral bleaching that is going on. So coral mortality from marine heat waves and acidification. By 2100, all the coral reefs might be devastated. And the third is loss of marine don't like as I talked about coral reefs, even other species that are existing in the ocean that they may get distinct due to the temperature rise. And moreover, we very well know with the rise in the level of oceans, many of the lands, many of the islands near the ocean, near the seas, they may get submerged. So this is in short about like what kind of disaster we may be facing. And so we are, as we are talking today, on preparing ourselves for the disaster because we need to safeguard or we need to protect the coast and the communities. So once again, I would like to welcome Dr. Rania for this wonderful session. And begin with the discussion, I would like to ask the first question like, how can coastal communities enhance their resilience to marine disasters such as tsunamis, storm surges, and the sea level rise?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Anju. Today we have actually a very interesting topic, an alarming topic for many countries, and I'm sure that we will have a very constructive discussion. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all, me too, to this session on SDG 14. And definitely this topic is important because our oceans are the heart of our planet. The oceans cover more than 70% of the Earth's face. They're oceans regulate our climate. They provide food and livelihood for over 3 billion people worldwide. However, we know that our marine ecosystems now face growing threats, as you mentioned, pollution, the levels of the sea were rising, and overfishing. And what I want to say is that all these disasters nowadays reminds us that disaster preparedness is no longer optional. It's essential. So today's discussion, it's about partnership, awareness, about actions, about how community engagement, how science and how education can work together to make our coast and our communities more resilient. And it's about how we as citizens, students, and leaders, we can become champions of SDG 14 on our own ways. So you asked me about coastal communities. Actually, there is a combination of engineering, ecological, social, and policy-based strategies. First, if we talk about the structural engineering measures, that could be easy ways to construct barriers to prevent flooding from storm surges and rising seas. So we talk about the sea walls, as we know. And or we can dissipate wave energy before it reaches shorelines. So this is about breakwaters and artificial reefs, or elevated infrastructure. So build homes, roads, and utilities on stilts or raised platforms. By floodgates or surge barriers. It's about how to control tidal inflows into harbors and estuaries. And of course, the nature-based solutions, because working with natural systems provides long-term and cost-effective resilience. Nature-based solutions include mangrove restoration. Mangroves reduce wave energy and prevent coastal erosion. Or coral reef protection because reefs act as natural barriers against waves and surges, or dune and wetland conservation because these absorb storm surges and trap sediments, reducing flood impact. Or living shorelines, if we combine vegetation and natural materials to stabilize coasts sustainably, is another nature-based solution. And another category of solutions could be the land use planning and zoning. So strategic planning can minimize exposure of people and assets. How? through setback zones. This means prohibit or limit construction close to the shoreline. Or the managed retreat. This means relocate vulnerable infrastructure and communities inland. Or what we call hazard mapping is identifying high-risk zones using GIS and integrate them into planning decisions. And the green buffer zones, this means design open spaces or parks that can flood safely during storm events. Of course, if we talk about disasters, it's all about early warning systems. Early warning systems and emergency preparedness, because this saves lives during sudden disasters like tsunamis. If we talk about tsunamis, for example, we can use sensors or satellites and sirens for early alerts. Evacuation routes and shelters, so clearly mark and maintain safe evacuation pathways. The community drills and education, so to train residents to respond quickly and effectively to alerts. And risk communication, this means disseminate clear multilingual information to all community members. These, of course, measures are combined with policy governance and community engagements because strong governance ensures resilience is sustained over time. So integrated coastal zone management means coordinate environmental, social, economic goals across sectors. The climate adaptation policies incorporate sea level rise projections into urban planning and infrastructure design, engage locals in risk assessments and planning to build ownership and trust, so community participation. The technological data innovation, because all these modern tools now can improve prediction and response. So coastal monitoring systems, we can track tides now with AI, we can track currents and erosion in real time. We can use AI and predictive models to plan for future climate scenarios. And we talk about smart infrastructure because sensors and Internet of Things devices can monitor the drainage, the flood levels, and of course, when technology is combined with education capacity building, we talk about resilient communities. So promote understanding of marine hazards, public awareness campaigns, build technical capacity for designing and maintaining protective systems. And in school, for school programs, we can teach coastal safety, environmental stewardship, and disaster response. So resilience is strongest when engineering, ecosystems, communities, technology will work together, and the resilient coastal community reduces exposure for planning, enhances protection via natural and built defenses, and improves preparedness through early warning and education.
Yeah, that was really wonderful answer because if we want that the coastal communities, if they want to enhance their resilience to marine disasters, so they can be doing it by integrating early warning signs, by sustainable coastal planning, natural barrier restoration, and community-based preparation programs for the disaster. So this all can be done. So these are very wonderful ideas, in fact. And one more thing, like when I had a small presentation, so in that even I discussed about how the climate change and the changes in temperature of the oceans, they are going to affect the biodiversity. So regarding this, I would like to ask my next question, like what role do healthy marine ecosystems like the mangroves and the coral reefs play in disaster risk reduction for the coastal areas?
Mhm. They actually play a vital role in reducing disaster risks because they act as natural protective barriers. They help maintain ecological balance and they support community resilience in both environmental and socioeconomic terms. If we talk about, for example, wave energy dissipation, coral reefs absorb up to 90% of incoming wave energy, reducing this way the force of waves that reach the shore. Mangroves, for example, with their dense root systems, slow down storm surges and reduce wave hits by up to 60% over short distances. If we talk about the flood and storm surge protection, salt marshes and wetlands, they act as sponges that absorb flood waters during storms and high tides, We have dune systems also. Dune systems in seagrass meadows help stabilize sediments and prevent erosion, maintaining the shoreline's shape. And if we talk about tsunami, for example, areas with extensive mangrove belts experience less damage from tsunamis because the trees break the momentum of incoming waves. So mangroves actually, the mangrove roots trap sediments and they build up the shoreline naturally. Seagrass beds and coral reefs bind the seabed, preventing erosion and maintaining beach stability. And over time, these ecosystems counteract sea level rise by accumulating sediments and organic material. Of course, all these healthy ecosystems sustain fisheries also, aquaculture, tourism, provide economic resilience after disaster. So they support livelihoods and food security. Communities that depend on those ecosystems have alternative income sources and they can recover faster post-disaster. This is very important. And for climate regulation and carbon sequestration, we know that blue carbon ecosystems like mangroves or seagrasses or salt marshes store 3 to 5%, 3 to 5 times more carbon per hectare than terrestrial forests. So, by mitigating climate change, they indirectly reduce the intensity and frequency of future marine disasters. So, a biodiverse ecosystem is more resilient to disturbances. Coral reefs, for example, support a wide range of species that maintain ecological balance, which is essential for recovery after extreme weather events. And this ecosystem hold cultural and traditional significance at the same time. Many coastal communities fostering stewardship and local engagement in conservation. In general, I would say that nature-based defenses are cheaper also to maintain than concrete seawalls and provide multiple co-benefits, biodiversity, of fisheries or recreation. So we talk about cost-effective, more sustainable protection, and when they are combined with engineered solutions, they create hybrid systems that maximize resilience. So healthy marine ecosystems are nature's first line of defense against coastal disasters. Protecting and restoring them is both environmental and a disaster risk management strategy.
Yes, of course, as you said, that the mangroves and the coral reefs, they are supporting biodiversity and they're sustaining livelihoods, and in fact, they are enhancing the overall resilience of the coastal communities to the disaster because they help in absorbing the wave energy, reducing coastal erosion, and minimizing the impact of storm surges and the tsunamis also. So now the next thing, because when we talk about all this, preparing for the disasters. So in this, the local governments, they really have a very great role to play because they are the ones who will be deciding, who will be making plans, who will be deciding on some policies. So I just wanted to know, how can this local governments integrate SDG 14 into national disaster preparedness plans and coastal development policies?
Yes. First, I want to share some interesting statistics, key statistics that over 3 billion people depend on marine and coastal biodiversity for their livelihoods, because I mentioned before about livelihoods, that the ocean absorbs about 23% of annual carbon dioxide emissions from human activity and has taken in more than 90% of excess heat in the climate system. If we talk about pollution or plastic, very recently it was an estimated 17 million metric tons of plastic which entered the ocean, and this figure could actually double or triple by 2040 without drastic action. And something else which is very important, that only 8% of the world's ocean is currently designated as marine protected areas. You can understand that this is very, very serious. For fishery, approximately 37% of global fishery stocks were being overfished recently, in the recent years. And of course, we have ocean acidification, which is increasing because the average surface pH seawater recent years was recorded at very, very low levels. and acidification is projected to double or triple later. So we understand that all these more or less these problems that actually concern SDG 14 and local governments now, of course, they should make actually they should embed all these SDG 14 objectives into what could be municipal disaster preparedness strategies and coastal development plans, how they can reduce pollution, how they can protect the coastal habitats or sustainable fisheries. They can amend the planning laws, stricter laws for fishery, for example, or coastal codes to require that all coastal development and recovery projects assess and avoid the harm to mangroves, reefs, seagrasses, and wetlands. What we call cross-reference strategies, which includes all these strategies include evacuation, early warning, resilient infrastructure with habitat protection, restoration clauses, and what we call CEA's strategic environmental assessment for coastal zone plans, so cumulative impact on marine ecosystems are considered at policy level. So the first is this, and in general, local governments should integrate nature-based solutions that I mentioned before into disaster risk reduction investments. This means prioritize restoration and protection of reefs, of mangroves I mentioned before, as first-line defenses. Adopt hybrid designs which combine engineered defenses when needed with living shorelines to maximize the co-benefits, tourism or biodiversity, and include blue carbon projects in adaptation finance pipelines. So this way they can protect the coastlines and attract the climate finance. Why? Because healthy ecosystems reduce wave energy, erosion, and search impacts while providing livelihoods. If we talk about spatial planning now, risk zoning, local governments can update the coastal hazard maps to include sea level rise, storm surge, and ecosystem condition layers. They can create setback zones and no builder buffers based on ecological and hazard data. They can designate coastal safe evacuation corridors that avoid critical habitats, or they can use marine spatial planning to allocate areas for protection, sustainable use, aquaculture infrastructure. Why? Because this reduces exposure of people and assets and prevents infrastructure from degrading protective ecosystems. So this require definitely ecosystem impact assessments, how to make restoration or compensation mandatory for projects that damage habitats, the green procurement policies for public recovery works, so prefer solutions always that restore ecosystem functions, and this aligns incentives that the incentives and recovery do not undermine ecosystem resilience. And of course, finance. This is about how to tap climate adaptation funds, blue carbon finance, etc. Partnerships also are very important. The community engagement, link conservation with livelihoods, and monitor how to map SDG 14 targets to local the metrics.
So do you have any slides, Dr. Rania? You want to share?
I have already shared the statistics, so we don't need to present a PowerPoint because I have shared the statistics already.
No, but if you have, it will be good for our audience. So, yeah.
No, it's okay. I think there's no need now. Okay.
Okay, then continue. Okay, is over tourism included in your sharing? Is it coming up?
I have mentioned about tourism.
Over tourism, yeah.
Over tourism,
tourism
yes.
is also one of the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Over tourism. Never mind, we can discuss at the end. Let's continue with the questions. Yeah, let you finish first. Okay, Dr. Anju.
Okay. Yeah, of course, as you talked about the role of the local governments and how partnership and community engagement will be helping, because these are the people, when they work together, they can support SDG 14 by including factors like marine protection, the coastal system restoration in the disaster plans, and the development policies. And even earlier, like we discussed about the mangroves, the coral reefs, so they can help in reducing wave strength by 90%, and protect the shorelines and make coastal areas safer. Now, this was like we were discussing about the coastal regions, but yes, we know that there are many islands, many small islands. So, nextly, I would like to know from you, like, what are the challenges that will be faced by small islands, developing states, in preparing for recovering from the marine disasters, and how can international cooperation support them?
Yes, this is a wonderful question. What to say here? Small island developing states actually they face unique and severe challenges in preparing for and recovering from marine disasters such as hurricanes or storm surges or sea level rise, because their geographical isolation, their economic dependence on climate sensitive sectors, and limited institutional capacity make them very vulnerable. So, how international cooperation can help? Okay, first we mentioned about the vulnerability, the geographic and environmental vulnerability, the exposure to multiple hazards, the limited freshwater and flood sources, the economic constraints. So, high dependence on tourism and fisheries. So disasters can collapse key income sectors, leading to long-term economic downturns. Small economies cannot also easily absorb the financial shocks of disaster recovery. So we talk about limited fiscal space, um, the limited fresh water and, food sources. And of course, for infrastructure and institutional limitations, we talk about fragile communication because isolation worsens post-disaster response times. We talk about limited technical expertise because small governments may lack specialists in coastal engineering and disaster management, have social demographic factors such as the youth out migration. This is what happened there because skilled workers leave, and this weakens long-term recovery capacity. On these islands, we have a small dispersed population, so it's harder to implement large-scale evacuation or logistics. The climate change, the loss of biodiversity, which reduces food security and resilience. Um, so here I want to mention that the Pacific coral reefs, which are essential for tourism and coastal defense, are expected to lose up to 90% of the coral cover by 2050 if warming continues. So how the national cooperation can support this? Through access to climate and disaster funds. Simplify access to the Green Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund, Loss and Damage Fund. The emergency liquidity facilities, so provide rapid financial assistance post-disaster through specific resilience and sustainability trust or other similar mechanism. Um, uh, for example, in Seychelles, the Debt for Nature swap was a mechanism, a program, which helped fund marine conservation while reducing debt burdens. Technology also, technology transfer and capacity building, because I mentioned before about the early warning systems, how we can now share satellite data, tsunami monitoring, predictive monitoring technologies. They can, and the national collaboration can also include the training programs to build local expertise in hazard mapping, urban plan, ecosystem-based adaptation, and leveraging best practices from other countries, the knowledge sharing platforms, how to connect these problems and challenges to other regional climate centers. Um, for example, have the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which provides real-time alerts and capacity building. Of course, support for ecosystem-based adaptation, so fund coral reef and mangrove restoration projects that provide natural protection against waves and surges, promote what we call blue economy initiatives. This means support sustainable fisheries, marine protected areas, and ecotourism. And regional research programs, this can include joint studies on ocean acidification, on reef recovery, and sustainable coastal livelihoods. Strengthen regional and global partnerships, because regional early warning and coordination systems, this could strengthen this kind of communities, integration into international frameworks, and partnerships with universities and NGOs. Of course, the national collaboration can help with climate resilient infrastructure, so investment in flood-proof buildings or renewable energy systems, in digital and logistical support, the satellite connectivity, drone surveys, AI-based disaster monitoring systems, how to mainstream climate risk into national budget and development planning. And for social and humanitarian cooperation, forgot to mention this. This requires developing international frameworks for what we call climate migrants from these islands. So this could include, for example, relocation or migration support. Of course, education awareness programs, so health system strengthening, support resilient healthcare emergency response facilities, strengthen community-based disaster preparedness. So the key message is that these islands are on the front lines of the global climate crisis, but they are not alone. Because through fair climate finance, through technology sharing, through ecosystem protection and regional cooperation, the national community can help these islands transform vulnerability into resilience, safeguarding both lives and livelihoods.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful answer. Yes, because if we look at the challenges that are being faced by the small island or the small island developing states, they are very much different from what the other countries might be facing, or even the coastal regions, if we just talk about that, because they have limited resources, they have fragile ecosystems, they depend only on coastal livelihoods, and above all, they are at high risk of exposure to the sea level rise. And as you talked about international cooperation, so yes, they can support these small islands by climate finance, by technology transfer, by capacity building, and sharing early warning signs, so that they can be prepared and they can have more or better recovery efforts, so that the loss will be less. Now, one more thing, like I would like to know from you, like we have been discussing about the involvement of the communities. But one thing is that if you want to involve the communities, even these should be aware of what kind of disasters they must be facing and how to face that. So, my next question is like, how can communities be educated and empowered to participate in marine conservation as a means of reducing the risk of disaster?
Yes, yes, you mentioned my communities, and I want to say here that there are teachers among us who live in Philippines, for example. I have many teachers who are suffering from this every week. I hear that they face tsunami issues and floods, and many very often. Uh, what about communities now? Is one of the most effective and sustainable ways, I think, to reduce disaster risk in coastal areas, because when people understand how healthy oceans protect them, they are more likely to become active stewards of the environment. So build awareness through education communication. This means integrate marine and climate education to the curriculum about include the marine ecology or coastal hazards, sustainable fishing, local education systems. The community workshops, because we could conduct participatory sessions explaining how mangroves or reefs or wetlands protect against floods and storms. We can leverage the use of social media and campaigns. We can use also media, local radio, social media, and storytelling to share real-life examples of nature-based disaster protection. In the Philippines, since I mentioned about Philippines, there are school programs which teach mangrove Fridays. This is called the program where the students actually plant and monitor mangrove growth, linking it to typhoon protection. Promote, in general, community-based resource management. So this means establish local marine protected areas, involve fishers and local leaders in planning, monitoring, and enforcement, the participatory mapping, so let communities identify vital habitats and risk zones, prone zones, using local knowledge, and customary laws and traditions, so integrate traditional stewardship with modern conservation. Why this works? Because when communities feel ownership of resources, they protect them more effectively, more sustainably. And empower local livelihoods linked to conservation. This could mean ecotourism enterprises, how we can train residents as, for example, mangrove rangers or as reef guides, nature interpreters. More sustainable fishery programs, support gear exchanges, fish farming, and capture limits that protect the fish stocks, the blue economy initiatives. How we can develop small-scale weed farming, shellfish aquaculture, or mangrove honey production, because this way people see tangible economic benefits from keeping ecosystems healthy, which actually reinforces conservation behavior. And encourage participatory conservation restoration activities. For example, we can have community mangrove planting days or reef restoration dives, which create hands-on understanding of ecosystem functions, or adopt a mangrove programs is the name of these programs, where schools, civic groups, or businesses take responsibility of maintaining specific areas. And we can train our youth to collect the simple data on water quality of fish populations or erosion rates. So the benefit is that we build both environmental literacy and local data for risk management. We can recruit also citizens. Citizen science is on the rise now everywhere. So everyone, we don't need to be a professional, don't need to be a scientist in order to participate in the collection of data. Anybody can be useful in collecting data, and also foster inclusive governance and decision making. So community representation in policy forums, so ensure that women, youth, also fisher folk, everybody have a voice in these councils. The participatory budgeting, so allow communities to decide on local adaptation, conservation spending, and transparency tools. Of course, all this matters because inclusion leads to trust, and trust is essential for compliance and long-term resilience. So try to strengthen partnerships with NGOs, with schools, with research institutions. NGOs and universities can provide the training equipment, scientific guidance, joint projects like citizen science that I mentioned before, citizen science coral monitoring, for instance, can bridge local knowledge and modern research. A youth engagement, so marine conservation clubs or beach cleanups or school competitions can provide environmental pride. And always use culturally relevant, locally driven approach. We need to leverage here traditional ecological knowledge, combine local wisdom with scientific understanding, use storytelling, for instance, or can use song or theater or visual art to communicate conservation messages in culturally resonant ways. And provide incentives. Incentives that could be reward programs or certification schemes or grants, micro grants, and things like that. So connect conservation to disaster preparedness, means link ecosystem restoration with these drills, demonstrate all these co-benefits, how restore reefs reduce wave heat, or how wetlands absorb flood waters, how seagrasses trap sediment, demonstrate all these co-benefits, and use of visual tools, for instance, map videos, use of maps, or any kind of visual aid, because people can understand that protecting nature is protecting themselves. And finally, monitoring, evaluate, citizen monitoring. First is this, because we can involve locals in tracking biodiversity and storm impacts, the feedback sessions, share results openly, and we can have some ocean days or some community festivals and things like that. So the key message here is that empowered communities are resilient communities, and when people understand, value, and manage their marine ecosystems, they not only conserve biodiversity, but they actually build a living shield against the marine disasters.
Yeah, thank you. Like, yes, of course.
Very detailed sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very insightful sharing, in fact, and like lots of knowledge because yes, as you talked about educating the communities, empowering them, doing awareness campaigns, to school programs, and how in this community-led initiatives, how we can be involving the local, the NGOs and other social organizations because they have more knowledge about the local atmosphere. Like if we just go through some other place, it will be very difficult. So yes, that is really a very good answer coming up from this concern that we had about how the such kind of community-led initiatives should be taking place. And of course, I can just say that enhancing coastal resilience, it will require a combination of strong local action, and it will also require global support if we want to protect the marine systems, and to integrate SDG 14 into planning and empowering communities, and to create a safer and more sustainable coastal futures. So I think Dr. Vestry has something to add to it. So over to you, Dr. Vestry.
Thank you. I think both of you have shared a lot really today. Our audience are really enjoying this part of sharing because both of you have shared a lot, fair a bit. And to add to the SDG 14, disaster preparedness and for coast and communities, I have one point to share, uh, which is developing coastal zone management, which plans the integrate sustainable use and disaster risk reduction. So we can go deep further and involved parties can do more research and come up with ideas and actions, plan to actions on how to reduce the disaster risk reduction. And as for the over tourism is one of the common factor which is taking place in everywhere, every country, especially unless it's a big continental, which is, every country we have our borders where which is coast, and our communities are definitely involved. And if you see the environmental, it causes environmental degradation over tourism, which excessive tourists leads to pollution, habitat destruction, the strain on marine ecosystems, affecting biodiversity and ecosystem health. Yeah, so we can go further and read more about what it's all about, how it contributes to the um, what is the impact of this over tourism on these facts. And we also have increased erosion and flooding, which you all have shared. But like example, like construction and human activities destabilizes the coastline, which increases the vulnerability to erosion, yeah, and flood risk. And the third one will be resource depletion. Yeah, this is another challenging factor where due to overuse of resources like water, fish, and the coral diminishes local productivity and resilience because corals get hurt due to human intervention. Yeah, human having fun, but all these natural resources in the sea got affected by plastics. Maybe they hurt because they have stepped on it, hurt it with many other ways, yeah. And like some heavy disposed materials can also cause damage to these corals, natural corals. um, and many more. We can always go and Google and read more about this, how it's affected. And then social strains also. Overcrowding can cause displacement of local communities and diminish their quality of life. Yeah, so increased waste also, I think we have shared just now. Higher tourism volumes generate more waste, often overwhelming waste management system and polluting beaches and waters. And the last one will be loss of authenticity. Okay, so here is due to over commodification. Yeah, so of course, obviously, when everybody moves to a place, then the uniqueness of that place diminishes, becomes less popular over the time due to it will be definitely affected. Wherever human go, they destroy the nature. Yeah, nature and whatever available around them. Humans are actually not preserving it. That's why we have to move into sustainable uh, development. We have to focus on sustainable development goal to sustain all that we have, especially natural resources, because humans are naturally and common destroyers of nature. Yeah, because not everybody is aware or care about the nature. Yeah, thank you so much. This
Yes,
is
no, I wanted to allow me to add something because over tourism this summer was very, very a trendy topic here.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody was talking about Italy and Venice.
Ah,
You know, Italy is one of the world's most visited countries. And we talk
mm,
about over 65 million international arrivals per year. And
ah,
everybody this summer was talking about the huge damages that they face due to over tourism. But this over tourism threatens this such a charm, place. So we try to balance tourism with preservation, and they try to implement. I was reading recently about taxes, also tourist taxes in major cities. They try to develop slow tourism routes, ecotourism routes in less visited regions. What I was in Basilicata in one region. They promote also off-season visits, which is also very popular now, and digital
oxygen.
booking systems, off-season visits, and digital
Visit.
booking systems to manage the flows.
Oh,
And this summer also, we had the same problem in Greece. And the
mm,
paradox is that while we are well, we are proud of the tourism here because of the ancient Greek monuments and things like that. And all the politicians say how we can boost tourism, how we can boost tourism. And now we have exactly the opposite. This summer, we are complaining how to reduce the tourism. So you can understand, this is the
tourism
paradox.
is a source of income for
Yes,
every country.
the politicians
Uh,
how we boost the
yeah, and
tourism. You
now
can say it's a Greek
how to
philosophy.
reduce.
And this year, actually, the ministers they suggested that the Greek citizens should not visit islands during the summer.
Oh,
They suggested, in order to limit the over tourism, that the locals should not visit, so only the foreigners should visit. This was the
to make
suggestion
money.
of
So they're
ministers
only
this
concerned
summer.
about,
This
yeah,
summer,
yeah.
honestly tell you, this was the suggestion.
Now every country is trying to make money. Every country trying to make money. Like example, today I heard news in Malaysia. One of the ministers telling, okay, all those who got traffic compound, please pay up from 1st November to 31st December. You got special discount about 70%. Then what's the use of summoning people who break the traffic rules, right?
Yes, yes,
If
yes.
you give so much of discount, they will keep on committing more wrongs. Okay, they will break the rules, more accidents, and they couldn't be bothered because they will get discount. Similar to what this government is doing, they want to make money. This is how they are making money here
Yes, but
every day.
they make money only from foreigners because
Ah,
they
oh,
isolate
Malaysia is very good outside.
foreigner the locals. They say
Yeah,
local people local people should should uh, take a leave of absence during October or November, not during the summer. This is the first
ah,
time
yeah,
that happened in Greece.
yeah. Because maybe they want to control the number of people who are going to the
Exactly.
beaches, coastal
Yes.
areas, so the tourists will feel more free to, spend their time there. Uh,
But
there's
I
always a
want
pros
yes,
and cons.
but I want to tell you also that one thing that happened first time also in Greece, we had we have always tourism. Tourism is one of the biggest, industries in Greece. The biggest industry is tourism. But we had always tourists who spent a lot of money. I mean, as
Ah,
tourists who go to a restaurant, they could afford to spend, for example, $100 for one meal. This
ah,
year, we had the type of tourists who didn't spend anything. They took the meal from the supermarket and they
ah.
avoid restaurants, they avoided clubs, they avoided everything. So this means that tourists all around the world, that we talk about the financial crisis
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah,
not only in
yeah,
Greece.
everywhere. Yes,
And we don't have
yes.
any more type of tourist who spend, without thinking. We don't have
We don't
any
have quality tourism. We
anymore.
don't have, yes,
Exactly.
quality tourism.
This stopped. But this shows that in general people have financial issues, not only in Greece.
Mm.
This
Yeah,
shows
everywhere, everywhere. Because
everywhere.
that's why
So
people, they say from here, like what you said, that's why tourism, I'm no more spending. Otherwise, if you feel that it's okay, who want to go and shop for all this food stuff and heat up and all this? That you can just
no,
enjoy
this
themselves,
is
go and sit
happening.
in
No,
one of
no.
the restaurant or
They just
cafe and just have it there on the spot.
no.
Yeah,
This has stopped. The majority of tourists,
stop.
they pay. They take away the meal from the supermarket because now
Mm-hmm.
supermarkets also have a meal, and this is it. They just spend
Even,
money for the trip and all
yeah,
the others, but not for
the
food or
accommodation.
for enjoyment. Yes, or for
Yeah.
accommodation. Yes, for accommodation, but not for food or for restaurants. So the restaurants this year were disaster in Greece. They didn't have any benefit, and
Mm.
because of
Yeah,
this.
and then you see when all the tourists get their own food, they have more waste to throw, right? If they're confined to cafe and restaurants near the coastal areas, they will manage it. The restaurant or cafe will manage the waste, right? But when they everybody buy their own food, and you see now the tradition, like now it's a tradition for people not to stay in hotels because it's very costly as well. Hotels are
Mhm,
not doing
mhm.
well around the world. Only the
Yes,
rich ones can spend. The normal
yes,
people, they refuse to spend, and yet it's very much cheaper to take a Airbnb rather
exactly.
than staying in a hotel. They find it is cheaper, they can stay longer, you know, you see. So all
Yes,
these really, really a lot of things shows that globally there is economic uh, crisis. Yeah, this
mhm, mhm,
confirms. Yeah, this confirms. Exactly,
mhm.
because when they buy food from supermarkets and all that, and they take to Airbnb, they always take accommodation. In hotel, you can't cook. If you eat in the hotel, you stay and you eat, it's going to be very, very expensive. And maybe 1 day, 2 days is okay. And most of the time, people don't enjoy food in hotel. Only
Yes,
buffet you eat as much as you want, but most of the time I don't enjoy also the food in the hotel. I prefer to go out of the hotel and eat food there. It's not because it's cheap. We have more choice, right? Like if you come to Malaysia, a lot of tourist spots, they have a lot. The hotel can, it's all like 4-star, 5-star hotels, but lot of people who stay there spend most of the time outside, eating outside, because they have more choice, cheaper, and more varieties, more varieties. And in hotel, they only choose to take maybe breakfast in the morning, you know, and the rest of the meals are outside. You see? So they rather they if you ask me, if you yourself you think we go and stay in hotel for holidays, we are out the whole day. Yeah, we are out the whole day. We only come back at night or come back for a short period and then go out again, rest and go out again. So they would rather spend on Airbnb, which they can have more comfort, you know.
Yes, but Airbnb right now causes other problems. We know that nowadays citizens in different countries they can't find rooms to rent because of Airbnb, and
Yeah.
that's why many countries. When I think in Spain this happened, they banned thousands of buildings used by Airbnb because they want to, to help the citizens. The same happened in Greece. For example, university students can't find a room to rent because of
Ah,
Airbnb,
yes,
or have
yes,
teachers who have to, to work on the remote islands in Greece, who are appointed on remote islands. They can't
yeah.
find a place because of Airbnb, because Airbnb, they use them for some months and after they say leave because I want tourists. So teachers don't have a
Ah,
place to
yes,
stay. We have
exactly. This happens in
teachers who
Malaysia
live
as
in
well.
cars, teachers who live in the cars because of the
Yes,
problem of Airbnb. This is happening worldwide, not only in Greece.
yes,
I mean, it
exactly,
has
exactly.
so governments now they try to control, the power of Airbnb with new measures now because it has started to lose the control or the whole
Yeah,
situation.
I do concur with what you share because thank you for sharing this because it just reminded me because in Malaysia as well, most of the new condominiums, newly built condominiums and all that, most of the universities, colleges, they use it as hostel, students hostel. So since the property developers in Malaysia, there's oversupply of new accommodation, condominiums, you know, condominiums,
Mhm.
oversupply. Even shopping malls, you can say it's too many, especially in cities. If you walk into the shopping malls, most of the shopping malls are empty. Only just selected shopping malls where the tourists used to come, you know,
Mhm.
in big groups frequently are packed. Other than that, most of the beautiful, nice malls are all empty. And this also affect the same thing. There's oversupply of um, condominiums, and all that. So the developer, they cannot sell the property. This happened not only after
Mm.
pandemic. This started even before pandemic. Oversupply of accommodation. So these house condominiums. So what they do is that the property developers tend to give it to the real estate agents to sell it or rent it, and the real estate agents, they rent it to Airbnb. They are the one who suggest to the owners, if you let it out to Airbnb, you can make more money rather than letting out to student. And then the cost of repair, maintenance of the unit is also very high if you rent it out to students, because although students are renting the unit, everything to
Mhm.
be complete in Malaysia. You need washing machine, you need dryer because there's no place to dry clothes, because of one condominium unit, there'll be about 6, 7, some if it's huge, 10 students staying in one condominium. So where they going to dry the clothes? So you need washing machine, you need dryer, you need stove, a lot of things. So a lot of things, kitchen cabinet. So everything need to be fitted for them to use. So owners, the owners are making are not making money actually. Actually buying a lot of property nowadays, property are liability, no longer an asset. If you buy one house for yourself, then it's an asset. But if you buy more than what you need, like maybe you have 2, 3 children, okay, until they can afford to pay to the bank, it is a liability. you know you have to pay to the bank. It's liability, you see. So a lot of things is affected now, since due to the world economic crunch. Yeah, so it's very sad, but this is what happening. So people have to be wise. But here in Malaysia, the houses are so expensive, and the houses are smaller space. Smaller space. You see, it's just like a
Yes, yes.
pigeonhole. Even condominiums. Don't talk about low cost flats. Low cost flats is understood, but even condominiums, developers are building in small sizes. Maybe about 2 rooms, about 600 square feet, 3 rooms, about like today. I was talking to one of the property developers, sales marketing people, and they showed me the plan. you know it's just
Mhm.
2 rooms, 2 rooms, 700 square feet, and then 3 rooms, only about 800 square feet, 900 square feet. You see, so
Mhm.
it's so small, and the price is so high. So who's going to buy? People can't secure bank loan
The
like
same,
before.
it's the same here.
Yeah,
Astronomical amounts to rent or buy a house. It's impossible to buy
yeah.
a
So
house
this
here. Palascio, it's
directly
impossible.
affects everything, even tourism, over tourism. Too
Mhm.
much, too much. So people who buy too many assets are suffering now, because even if you ask me, 8 9 years ago, the house property owners who buy the property to let out, okay, for Airbnb, or even to let out to tenants, they have to top up money to pay the bank. How about now? Just imagine now, after
Mhm.
pandemic, even worse with all this economic crunch, worse, right? So buying property is no longer an asset, is it?
Exactly.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah, generally it's no more an asset. So now that the trend in Malaysia is that young people, not many buying houses now. And they have better choice. You stay in one place, a new condominium, you stay for a few years, you know once the building gets old a bit and all that, you are not happy with that area. Sometimes when you buy the property, they said, wow, you got beautiful view. Like in Malaysia, they always show the KLCC view. After a few years, another building will rise up and block the views, and they waste money. You see, so the value of the asset is so depreciates, and even at the coastal areas, you see, after the apartments, they have a beautiful apartments. After sometimes it gets old, it's not maintained well. The tourist doesn't want to stay there. You see, they like if it's small island, they don't mind traveling you know, further down and stay in a hotel rather than staying at the coastal area. So the hotels, for the tourists, which is meant for the tourists, are not doing good business.
Yeah.
You see? Ah. And
Mhm.
normally tourist area, the food is very expensive. So a lot of factors contributing. But now, if you say certain places is different, like in Penang Island, many, because it is Penang Island is a holiday spot, tourist spot, like Langkawi, North Malaysia. It's okay because it's not, uh, can say now more tourists are going there, but not as bad as Penang Island, because Penang Island has been there as a tourist place for many, many years. So same thing happened. The coastal areas, they are doing reclamation, you know, to build hotels, to build some recreational areas. And Penang Island, I yet to search on that, but I was told by one of my friend, that's my hometown. So they said that they have invited the government there, have invited some China company to do some recreational area. Means they are doing land reclamation and doing up a recreational area, so that natural lives, natural resources will be affected, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Mhm.
The artificial development there. So even the fish, because it's the straits, Straits of Malacca, so it's not an ocean. That's the thing. So a lot of things. Very interesting topic today
Very
we are sharing.
interesting. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rania, because this is a very rare topic which people want to share. So I told Dr. Anjum, Dr. Rania can share this topic. Okay, Dr. Anjum, please share your part, if anything.
Today I had already listened to a lot of discussion, and I don't think I have much to share. But that was really great.
Oh, festival celebration. Okay, okay. Firecrackers. Fine, fine. Okay. Okay. We are done, right? Okay. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Dr. Rania, for being with us and sharing a lot of interesting, uh, uh, give us a lot of information on how this, um, disaster preparedness is why it's so important and how it's affecting the coast and the communities. And also, Dr. Anjum, congratulations on um, successfully hosting this session today. And to our dear audience, thank you so much for joining us as usual. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Mr. Bhagavan Lal Pargi from India. Thank you for your generous support. And I think you didn't join us for some time. Thank you so much for being with us. And all our regular audience, thank you so much. And all our new audience, please continue to support us. You will learn a lot from us. Thank you so much, and happy weekend. And I think many countries like India and Malaysia, we are all having holiday time now. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye. See you.
Bye.